Hello, friends. 1 week. Again, we continue with the reading of this marvelous book, Biology of Plants. And as always, the idea is to pronounce it, let's say, a little bit better than last week. And then, if I have some question, then I check with the Google Translator the word, particular word, and then, okay, I listen and then I repeat properly. So let's try to progress um, from the chapter 2 today, the molecular composition of plant cells. The chemistry of chilies. The chemistry of chilies. I don't know even the meaning of chilies. Maybe I can imagine that is some food, but yes, chiles.
Chillus,
Chiles.
chillus,
Chiles. Okay, it's like pepper, some kind of pepper. So the chemistry of chiles as chili peppers, peppers, right? Then they're carotenoid chili peppers is a music group. Ripen, their carotenoid pigments are produced, and the colors of the peppers change. Peppers or peppers? Let's check this. Pimienta, pepper,
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 pepper, pepper. Sorry, pepper. So the colors of the peppers change from green to yellow to red. Capsaicin, the molecule that causes the burning sensation when we eat the chili, pep, chili peppers, chili peppers, chili, 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 chili peppers, deters browsing mammals but is not detected by birds, which eat the fruit and distribute the seeds in their droppings. Okay, so everything on Earth, including everything you can see at the moment, as well as the air surrounding it, is made up of chemical elements in various combinations. Elements are substances that cannot be broken down into other substances by ordinary means. Carbon is an element, as are hydrogen and oxygen. Of the 92 elements that occur naturally on Earth, only six were selected in the course of evolution to form the complex, highly organized material of living organisms. These six elements, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur, CHNOPS, make up 99% of the weight of all living matter. The unique properties of each element depend on the structure of its atoms and on the way those atoms can interact and bond with other atoms to form molecules. Water, a molecule consisting of two hydrogens and one oxygen, H2O, makes up more than half of all living matter and more than 90% of the weight of most plant tissues. By contrast, electrically charged ions such as potassium, magnesium, and calcium important as they are, account for only about 1%. Mm. Almost all the rest of a living organisms, chemically speaking, is composed of organic molecules, that is, of molecules that contain carbon. In this chapter, we present some of the types of organic molecules that are found in living things. The molecular drama is a grand extravaganza with literally a cast of thousands. A single bacterial cell contains some 5,000 different kinds of organic molecules, and an animal or plant cell has at least twice that many. As we note, however, these thousands of molecules are composed of relatively few elements. Similarly, relatively few types of molecules play the major roles in living systems. Consider this chapter in an introduction to the principal players in the drama. The plot begins to unfold in the next chapter. Okay, so let's continue a little bit with the organic molecules. The special bonding properties. Well, let's check this.
Properties.
Properties,
Properties.
properties. So, the special bonding properties of carbon permit the formation of a great variety of organic molecules. Of the thousands of different organic molecules found in cells, just four different types make up most of the dry weight of living organisms. These four are carbohydrates, 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 consisting of sugars and chains of sugars, lipids, most of which contain fatty acids, proteins composed of amino acids, and acids, nucleic acids, DNA and RNA, which are made up of complex molecules known as nucleotides. All of these molecules, carbo- carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids or acids. Let's check this. Because it's like quite simple word, but if you have the question, it's better to solve. Otherwise, you are doing partly forever.
Acid.
Acid,
Acid.
acid,
Acid.
acid, acid. No, it's not acid. Acid, no, it's acid, acid, acid. Okay, you see, it's clear now. Maybe I check the next weekend again because I forgot, but okay, it's the way of reinforce this and improve. So, acid. All of okay, all of these molecules, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids, consist mainly of carbon and hydrogen, and most of them contain oxygen as well. In addition, proteins contain nitrogen and sulfur. Nucleic acids, you see, nucleic acids, as well as some lipids, contain nitrogen and phosphorus. Okay, this is quite important because it's the real composition. eh, the atoms, the chemical elements behind the life in animals and plants. So one point is organic molecules. Second one is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the most abundant organic molecules in nature and are the primary energy storage molecules in most living organisms. In addition, they form a variety of structural components of living cells. The walls of young plant cells, for example, are made up of the universally important carbohydrate cellulose em- embedded, embedded, embedded. What? How is this pronounced? Embedded, incorporado, but is the meaning.
Embedded.
Embedded,
Embedded.
embedded, embedded, embedded. Okay, so embedded. The walls of young plant cells, for example, are made up of the universally important carbohydrate cellulose embedded, 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 cellulose embedded in a matrix of other carbohydrates and proteins. The simplest carbohydrates are small molecules known as sugars. Larger carbohydrates are composed of sugars joined together. There are three principal kinds of carbohydrates classified according to the number of sugar subunits they contain. Monosaccharides, single sugars, such as ribose, glucose, and fructose, consist of only one sugar molecule. These saccharides, two sugars, contain two sugar subunits linked covalently: maltose, malt sugar, and lactose, milk sugar. Cellulose and starch. What does it mean, starch? Let's check this. Starch. Some words I don't know even the meaning. So it's a good time. Almidón. Almidón. Starch. Almidón. Okay. So almidón is
Starch. 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 Starch.
starch. So the R is like mute. Starch. So cellulose and starch are polysaccharides, many sugars, which contain many sugar subunits linked together. Micromolecules, large molecules, such as polysaccharides, that are made up of similar or identical small subunits, are known as polymers, many parts. The individual subunits of polymers are called monomers, single parts, polymerization as the stepwise linking of monomers into polymers. The stepwise linking of monomers into polymers. Okay, so let's continue a little bit more. Monosaccharides function as building blocks and sources of energy. Monosaccharides, saccharides. Let's check this because saccharides, monosaccharides.
saccharides,
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 saccharides. Okay, so monosaccharides or single sugars are the simplest carbohydrate. They are made up of linked carbon atoms to which hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms are attached in the proportion of one carbon atom to two hydrogen atoms to one oxygen atom. Singular, no? Singular. Monosaccharides can be described by the formula CH2O and between brackets N, where N can be as small as 3, as in C3H, okay, or as large as 7, as in another compound. These proportions gave rise to the term carbohydrate, meaning carbon with water added. Carbohydrate, okay, is carbon hydrate, okay, with water. For sugars and for the larger molecules formed from linked sugar subunits. Examples of several common monosaccharides are shown in figure 2.1. Notice that each monosaccharide has a carbon chain, the carbon skeleton, with an hydroxyl group, OH, attached to every carbon atom, atom or atom. Atomo is atom or atom. It sounds like atom, but let's be 100% sure.
atom, atom,
Atom, atom, atom. Yes, atom, no, atom. Okay, so, okay, attached to every carbon atom except one. The remaining carbon atom is in the form of a carbonyl group. Both these groups are hydrophilic, water loving, hydrophilic, water loving, and thus monosaccharides, as well as many other carbohydrates, readily dissolve the water. The five carbon sugars, las pentosas, pentosis. Let's check this.
pentoses,
Pentoses.
pentoses,
Pentoses was okay, but pentoses, the stress is always a question with the stress. Pentoses. So the five carbon sugars, pentoses, and six carbon sugars, hexoses, for sure is hexoses, are the most common monosaccharides in nature. They occur in both chain and ring forms, and in fact, they are normally found in a ring form when dissolved in water. As a ring is formed, the carbonyl group is carbonyl or carbonyl. Carbonyl. Carbonyl o carbonyl. Carbonilo, but
carbonyl,
carbonyl. Carbonyl, no, carbonyl. Okay, carbonyl. So, as a ring is formed, the carbonyl group is converted to a hydroxyl group. Thus, the carbonyl group is a distinguishing feature of monosaccharides in the chain form, but not in a ring form. Monosaccharides are the building blocks, the monomers from which living cells construct disaccharides, disaccharides, polysaccharides, and other essential carbohydrates. Moreover, the monosaccharide glucose is the form in which sugar is transported in the circulatory system of humans and other vertebrate animals. As we see in chapter, as we will see in chapter 6, glucose and other monosaccharides are primary sources of chemical energy for plants as well as for animals. The disaccharide sucrose is a transport form of sugar in plants. Now it's a new paragraph. The disaccharide sucrose is a transport form of sugar in plants. Although glucose is the common transport sugar for many animals, sugars are often transported in plants and other organisms as disaccharides. Sucrose, a disaccharide composed of glucose and fructose, is the form in which sugar in is transported in most plants from the photosynthetic cells, primarily in the leaves, where it is produced to other plants of the plant body. The sucrose we consume as table sugar, is commercially harvested from sugar beet, a large root, and sugarcane stems, where it accumulates as it is transported from the photosynthetic parts of the plant. In the synthesis of a disaccharide, oh, it's always the same, disaccharide, from two monosaccharide molecules, a molecule of water is removed and a new bond is formed between the two monosaccharides. This type of chemical reaction, which occurs when sucrose is formed from little tough for me, a lot of new vocabulary. Glucose and fructose, sorry. So let's do it well. Is formed from glucose and fructose. Is known as the hydration synthesis. I like more synthesis, but who knows? Yes, synthesis in Spanish, but
Synthesis.
synthesis as the hydration synthesis or a condensation reaction. In fact, the formation of most organic polymers from the subunits occurs by the hydration synthesis. When the reverse reaction occurs, for example, when a disaccharide is split into its monosaccharide subunits, a molecule of water is added. This splitting, which occurs when a disaccharide is used as an energy source, is known as hydrolysis. From hydro, meaning water, and lysis, breaking apart. So it's breaking apart water, breaking the water. Hydrolysis reactions are energy yielding processes that are important in energy transfers in cells. Conversely, the hydration synthesis reactions, the reverse of hydrolysis reactions, the hydration, the okay. So it's hydrolysis and the hydration synthesis reactions. The reverse of hydrolysis reactions require an input of energy. Okay, this is a key point. So, hydrolysis reactions needs less energy. Then dehydration synthesis reactions. Okay, okay, okay. So let's continue a little bit more. Sugar is generally transported in plants as the disaccharide sucrose. Sucrose is made up of two monosaccharide subunits, one alpha glucose and one beta fructose, bounded in a 1.2 linkage. The carbon 1 of glucose is linked to the carbon 2 of fructose. The formation of sucrose involves the removal of a molecule of water, the hydration synthesis. The new chemical bond formed is shown in blue. Okay, it's very particular. The comment is not, I think, for the video. So let's continue a little bit more to this page. Oof, we are 26 minutes. Let's try to do at least one page more and then we stop until next week. Polysaccharides function as storage forms of energy or as structural materials. Polysaccharides are polymers made up of monosaccharides linked together in long chains. Some polysaccharides function as storage forms of sugar and others serve structural role. Starch. The primary storage polysaccharide in plants consists of chains of glucose molecules. There are two forms of starch amylose, which is an unbranched molecule, and amylopectin, which is branched. Amylose and amylopectin are stored as starch grains within plant cells. Starch, I think I already made the console of this, but I'm going to repeat. Starch, almidón, yes, exactly. Starch, yeah. Now I'm more sure. So there are two forms of starch amylose, which is an unbranched molecule, and amylopectin, which is branched. Amylose and amylopectin are stored as starch grains within plant cells. Glycogen, the common storage polysaccharide in prokaryotes, fungi, and animals, is also made up of chains of glucose molecules. It resembles amylopectin but is more highly branched. In some plants, most notably grains such as wheat, trigo, rye, and barley, the principal storage polysaccharides in leaves and stems are polymers of fructose called fructans. Fructans. These polymers are water soluble and can be stored in much higher concentrations than starch. Polysaccharides must be hydrolyzed and monosaccharides and disaccharides before they can be used as energy sources or transported through living systems. The plant breaks down its starch reserves when monosaccharides and disaccharides are needed for growth and development. We hydrolyze these polysaccharides when our digestive systems break down the starch stored by plants in such foods as el maíz, or corn, a grain, and potatoes, tubers, making glucose available as a nutrient for our cells. Polysaccharides are also important structural compounds. In plants, the principal component of the cell wall is the important polysaccharide known as cellulose. In fact, half of all the organic carbon in the living world is contained in cellulose. Listen, half of the living, eh, half of the all organic carbon in the living world is contained in cellulose, making it the most abundant organic compound known. Good is about 50% cellulose. Yes. And cotton fibers are nearly pure cellulose. Cotton fibers are nearly pure cellulose. Almost 100% cellulose. Cellulose is a polymer composed of monomers of glucose as are starch and glycogen. But there are important differences. Starch and glycogen can be readily used as fuels by almost all kinds of living organisms, but only some microorganisms, certain prokaryotes, protozoa, and fungi, and if very few animals, such as silverfish, can hydrolyze cellulose. You see? So, to hydrolyze cellulose is not possible for all living forms, only for little, okay, small and very little of them, as some microorganisms, certain prokaryotes, protozoa, and fungi, and very few animals such as silverfish, pez de plata, can hydrolyze cellulose. Animals such as cows, termites, and cockroaches. What does it mean, cockroaches? Let's check this. It's not crocodile. Crocodile, no. It's cockroach. Cock. Cucarachas. Ah, interesting. Interesting.
Cockroaches. 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 Cockroaches.
Cockroaches. Okay, cockroaches. Such as cows, termites, and cockroaches can use cellulose for energy only because it is broken down by microorganisms that live in their digestive tracts. So you see, it's not that cows, cockroaches, and termites can hydrolyze the cellulose directly. No. It's because in their stomaches they have these bacteria, these microorganisms that can do that. Okay. So to understand the differences between structural polysaccharides such as cellulose and energy storage polysaccharides such as starch or glycogen, we must look again at the glucose molecule. You will recall that the molecule is basically a chain of 6 carbon atoms, and that when it is in solution, as it is in the shell, it assumes a ring form, a ring form, forma de anillo. The ring may close in either of two ways. One ring form is known as alpha glucose, the other is beta glucose. The alpha and beta forms are in equilibrium with a certain number of molecules changing from one form to the other all the time, and with the chain form as an intermediate. Starch and glycogen are both made up entirely of alpha glucose subunits, whereas cellulose consists entirely of beta glucose subunits. So this seemingly slight difference has a profound effect on the three-dimensional structure of the cellulose molecules, which are long and unbranched. As a result, cellulose is impervious to the enzymes that easily break down starch and glycogen. Once glucose molecules are incorporated into the plant cell wall in the form of cellulose, they are no longer available to the plant as an energy source. Cellulose molecules form the fibrous, fibrous. But let's check this. Fibrous, fibrous or fibrous? Fibroso, but the pronunciation is
Fibrous.
fibrous. You see? Something new. Fibrous.
Fibrous.
Fibrous. Fibrous. Okay. Cellulose molecules form the fibrous part of the plant cell wall. The long, rigid cellulose molecules combine to form microfibrils. It's consisting of hundreds of cellulose chains. In plant cell walls, en las celulares de las plantas, in plant cell walls, the cellulose microfibrils are embedded. Let's check this. Incorporado, but pronunciation
Embed.
embedded,
Embed.
embedded,
Embed.
embedded. Always, always strange this word. I think that I have already made different trials with this word, but embedded is always the same. In plant cell walls, the cellulose microfibers are embedded, three times, four times, embedded, five times. Okay. In a, let's continue, next page. Okay, only until lipids. From lipids on, I will continue next week. So, was are embedded in a matrix containing two other complex branched polysaccharides, namely hemicelluloses and pectins. Hemicelluloses stabilize the cell wall by hydrogen bonding to the cellulose microfibrils. Pectins make up most of the middle lamella, a layer of intercellular material that cements together the walls of adjacent plant cells. Pectins, which are especially painful in certain fruits, such as apples and cranberries, allow jams and jellies to thicken and gel. Chitin is another important structural polysaccharide. It is the principal component of las setas, ¿no? Hongos. The fungal shell walls, and also of the relatively hard outer coverings or exoskeletons of insects and crustaceans, such as crabs and lobsters. The monomer of chitin is N-acetylglucosamine, which consists of a molecule of glucose to which a nitrogen-containing group has been added. So from next week, we will continue with lipids. And after these lipids, we will be inside the proteins, and then the nucleic acids. And okay, this is completely the molecular composition of plant cells. Really interesting, really interesting. Okay, I think that I did better that weeks before. honestly, I think, because I I think that I have not been checking all the time. But okay, it doesn't matter if you look for your questions in pronunciation, you or in translation, because maybe you don't know what you are reading. So it's a good moment while you are reading, checking the word. Don't hesitate to do it. It's not a question of, okay, I will do next week. No, it's something that you have to do immediately. As soon as it happens, you have to look for the correct pronunciation and correct translation. And then you, let's say, improve your English little by little, little by little. Okay. Okay, friends, see you in my next chapter related to this biology of plants. A profound knowledge of this is going to be of great helpful for humankind, especially if we think first taking care of our own planet, the only and unique we have now till now, and secondly, if we expect in the future to go abroad, to go to other planets, like, I don't know, who knows, Mars, who knows? At the end, nobody knows until it happens. So, friends, see you next week, and please like and subscribe to the channel. Engineering, in this case, estrategias diarias ingeniería, engineering, daily strategies engineering in English. Okay, see you very soon. Goodbye.